Hello there, Vanagon addicts. It's Ken Wilford here at Vanagon. Hello there, Vanagon addicts. Haven't did this in a while. How you guys doing? I hope some of you guys can come visit us today and join us on our live stream. I didn't plan it. I didn't do anything, special or whatever to do it, but I thought I would come out today and have a live stream with you guys and just see who shows up. Okay, so it is August of 2023. We haven't did a live stream. We haven't did even a video for a few months, and so I kind of wanted to come out and do one for you guys, and then also kind of let you know what's going on with us and what's been happening. So of course it's summertime and everything is pretty busy that way, so that's one reason why we haven't been doing any live streams, doing any videos, just because we've been so busy doing orders. It's kind of normal this time of year, and I hope you guys are having a good time and spending time doing stuff with your van and just traveling around, enjoying everything. The other thing that's going on with us is that we went to Belize back in March and had a great time. Did a bunch of videos from that. Hope you get to watch some of those. But what happened after we got back, okay, is what's kind of put a kibosh on stuff more than anything. So when we got back from Belize, and we're starting to get busy with springtime stuff at work. Some of you guys know about this, but our church, the pastor has left, and I'm kind of having to fill in there. So I was busy with that besides work, and then about a month ago, my mother, who is 82, fell and really hurt herself pretty bad. And so my sister and I live right across the street from my mom. My sister and I have been kind of trying to take care of her and that kind of stuff. And so it's basically been absorbing all of my free time. So between the church and between work and between trying to help my mom out, it's been pretty much us, being just going full blast. Okay, so it's hard to do videos when all your free time is being used up. So that's basically what's happening that way. Now, if you guys come on here, please say hi in the chat. Okay, I would, very much like to see if you guys are on here. I know some of you folks are probably going to be watching this later because it's Saturday and you're out doing your Saturday stuff and things. I totally get it. I understand. So there's no problem that way. But if the people that are watching want to say hi in the chat, that's awesome. We are going to do some Vanagon stuff here. I wanted to talk a little bit about the state of Bosch parts in 2023. So we're in August of 2023. For many years, Chris Ahola says, I don't have a life. Okay, so I'm watching. Okay, great. Good to have him with us. So for many years, Bosch is one of the main suppliers, original equipment suppliers for Volkswagen. They have had a good, I think, a good relationship for lots and lots of years between the two companies. And right at this moment, Volkswagen is pivoting to electric vehicles. Okay, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but there's certain countries in the world, like Finland, I believe, and Norway, where the majority of vehicles that are being sold are electric. Okay, the majority of new vehicles that are being sold are electric. Plus, a lot of these countries, they have incentives to get rid of older vehicles. Okay, so if you have an older vehicle like a Vanagon or even a Eurovan, right, then they want you to get rid of those, and of course people have to transition to something new. So when they're transitioning to a new vehicle, They're buying an electric vehicle, and Volkswagen is actually the top seller for electric vehicles in many places in Europe. Okay, so Tesla's there, but Volkswagen is also there. Okay, so now you're saying, well, why are we talking about this? I don't have an electric vehicle. I'm not getting one. I'm still driving my Vanagon and stuff, and I understand that, and I appreciate that. Okay, but here's the problem you run into. So Bosch is a part supplying company. They have to make a decision about where they're putting their, assets. Where are they spending their money? Where are they, what are they supporting? And they only have X amount of assets and things to do. So what I personally believe is going on, and I could be totally wrong on this, okay? But what I personally believe is going on is that Bosch is transitioning their support from older vehicles. They're dropping their support for older vehicles, and they're taking that extra capacity, or whatever you want to say, and they are putting it towards possibly their support for electric vehicles, the new parts that are going to be required for that. That's just my opinion. I mean, if you guys have an opinion on this. But so what is happening? So what I'm seeing on the supply side is, say you need a rebuilt alternator or a rebuilt starter for your Volkswagen, and it is an older Volkswagen like a Vanagon or a bus, or possibly even a Eurovan. And you look around, you say, hey, all these years I could have got a Bosch remanufactured starter for this car, and now I try to get one, and it seems like nobody has one. Why is that? Okay, my personal opinion is that Bosch is dropping some of their remanufacturing products, okay, off of older vehicles. Now, maybe they still support something that's got like a bigger install base. I know they actually make brand new like generators for the Beatles, because that has a huge, following still, and their, Beatles were new not that long ago in some other countries. Some alternators and things, and starters, they have decided we're going to make brand new ones. Maybe we're not going to remanufacture them, but we're going to make brand new ones. Okay, so they're still supporting that. But for the Vanagon, okay, I'm just letting you know what I'm saying. For the bus, for the Vanagon, in 2023, they are dropping their support for their remanufactured products. So, starters, alternators, okay, if you have a Vanagon, I can still get you a remanufactured alternator. I can still get you it's a rebuilt. Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference in what it is, but I can get you a rebuilt starter. I can get you a rebuilt alternator. Okay, it's not remanufactured. Okay, so Bosch, they have what they call remanufactured. That means they take it all apart. Any of the parts that are wear items get replaced with new parts. Okay, if they check everything, if any of the parts are sketchy, it's a new part, then they put it back together, and it's supposed to meet manufacturer specifications. Okay, so that's a remanufactured part. That's what you would be buying from Bosch in the past. Okay, now what we're looking at is a rebuilder, okay, of an alternator or a starter. What you're seeing with that is you have a used starter somebody sends in. They clean it up, they get out the spray paint can, anything that's bad like brushes and maybe the solenoid or something, they'll replace it, they'll check it over if it's okay, which they have their own, specifications for that of the rebuilder. They clean it all up, they paint it, they replace the bare minimum really of what needs to be replaced for it to function, and then it goes back out. So that, people call me sometimes, Ken, I need a Bosch rebuilt starter. I'm like, well, I can't get you what they're expecting, which is a Bosch remanufactured stuff in a Bosch box. Okay, but what we're going to get, what you would get, is a Bosch starter or Bosch alternator, but it's going to be rebuilt by a different company, an aftermarket company. And the quality level is going to be decent, but it's not on the same level as a remanufactured part. So, and I'm pretty positive that all of the shops out there that specialize in Vanagons and buses and stuff are running into this. Now, what you're like, oh no, what's going to happen? I'm so scared. It's very scary. Okay. I mean, I might have good news. Let me go grab a product that I bought recently that is kind of showing you what direction, right? What is going to happen. I feel dumb because I should have got it earlier. Man, I almost dropped it. That's scary. Alright, so this is a product that I bought from a supplier not too long ago. And what this is a brand new alternator. Okay, a brand new alternator that is for a 70-something bus. Okay, air-cooled bus. Now, again, this is a product that about 3 years ago, Bosch, stopped, maybe 5 years ago, they stopped supporting. You couldn't get one, and you were even having a really hard time finding rebuilt ones. Because the problem with rebuilt products is that it relies on cores, it relies on a good used, at least the body of this thing to be around in order for people to be able to rebuild it. And eventually, people either hold on to their old ones, they throw them away or whatever, and you don't have any cores left. So what this is, there's companies out there that are investing money in making brand new versions of this. Okay, most likely this is made in China, but it is a brand new reproduction. It actually looks very excellent in the quality level of it. Okay. And so the nice part is there's no cores involved in this. I mean, I guess if it was me and I was going to put this on, I would keep my old unit and then maybe just have it as a core somewhere in case I wanted to have rebuilt in the future. But this is a brand new unit. Now, the other nice part about it is that it's not just a replacement unit. I mean, if people are going to spend the extra money, right, to invest in something, they're going to actually upgrade it. So I think the original one was a 50 amp unit. This is a 70. Okay, so in other words, this is an upgrade over the original alternator. So instead of a 50 or 55 amp alternator, it's a 70 amp. Okay. Yeah, I would say, right now, if you can find a remanufactured Bosch alternator or starter somewhere, you should grab it and buy it. Okay? If you, feel like you might need a rebuilt starter or alternator in the future, you might want to buy something that's out there. Like buy a used one somewhere from a junkyard or something, so you have something to rebuild. Okay, but what I'm expecting or hoping to happen in the not too distant future is these aftermarket ones that are going to be good. They might even be just as good as the Bosch ones. I mean, on the starter front, for a while now, there has been these adapter kits to be able to use a Bosch starter or even a Chinese starter that's from like a TDI Jetta in the place of the original starters. I think that's going to be something too that people are going to possibly look at a little bit closer. There's also those gear reduction starters that Go Westy's been selling for years. I don't really like them. I've used them. They last like a couple years and then they turn into a big pile of garbage or something. So I think the TDI starter is a better option if we get to that point. So, I mean, I got some stuff for the TDI starters. I might start carrying them on my site also. We still can get right now a very limited supply of starters and alternators that are rebuilt. Okay. Actually, right on the shelf right now, I actually have a couple. I have one Bosch remanufactured alternator on the shelf that I just got the other day. Just randomly snagged it. So if somebody wanted that, they should email me, because on the website I actually have had to change a lot of the stuff over to the aftermarket stuff, just because I hate getting caught off guard with people ordering what they think is a Bosch remanufactured thing. Then I have to give them like a partial refund and drop it down to a cheaper item. But okay, so that's basically what's going on with Bosch items. So people call me like, oh, I need a Bosch, I want Bosch spark plugs. They're gone. Okay, they're gone. So Bosch spark plugs are over. NGKs or equivalent Japanese ones are here. They're just as good. Sometimes people think they're better. Okay, so there's no downside that way. I mean, as far as cap and rotor, they're still making those, but the price of them is like really way more expensive than they used to be. Okay, and there's another company called Baru that also makes them. That's a German company that, in my opinion, the stuff Baru makes is probably just as good as Bosch, if not better. So that might be something that we're going to transition to here in the future again, just because I'm going to see Bosch drop, a lot of these items because it doesn't fit into their new mandate, their new direction they're going into, which is parts for electric cars. Okay, and so what I see is the OEM suppliers are going to start phasing out. Okay, so again, people call me, they're like, Ken, I really need a synchro wheel bearing for my front wheels. I really need one. So I grabbed a Febby one off the shelf, sent it to this guy. He's like, oh, I don't want this. I'm like, why don't you want it? Well, it's made in China. I'm like, this is what's available, and it's Febby. It's a German company. Yeah, but it's made in China. I don't want that. I don't want that. And so I'm scrambling around trying to see, again, you're talking about a car where your original parts are very limited. Okay, there's only 2 companies that's making wheel bearings for a Synchro Vanagon, and you pretty much have to pick between one and the other. Now the other one, if I was going to be honest with you, probably most likely that bearing is also made in China, but it don't say on the box. It says Sweden or something like that, because that's where the company is. And so, of course, then the person's going to be like, oh, look, I got this better one, quote unquote, because it says Sweden on it. Okay. I mean, again, I feel like when you're coming to somebody like me, or one of these other vendors out there, I mean, we're trying to get you the best parts that we can possibly get you. We don't want returns. We don't want people to have problems, because when a customer has a problem, that's our problem. Okay? We want to sell things, get that person's car fixed, and move on. And so if we have callbacks, if we have stuff, it costs us time, money. We don't want that. So what we do is we pick brands that consistently are putting out good products, and we just go with it. Okay? And if that brand decides they're going to take their toys and go to China and make their stuff there, I'm going to trust them that they're still making a quality part. If I do have some duds start coming back from them, then I'm going to try to switch over to something else. We're always trying to balance what's available and what's the best thing you can get, and then we always try to supply that. So it's hard when people question that. They're like, oh, what about this and what about that? And I'm like, this is something that we've been doing this for 25 years. So this August of 2023 is our 25th year of doing this. Okay? I think most people would think we were completely insane and crazy, because that's a long time doing something. Okay? It's like, the way it is, Do I know how much longer this is going to go on for? I don't know. Like I said, back in 2006, we hit a really slow point, and I thought, wow, it's all over finally. That's so crazy. Then we were in business for like 8 years, and so I was like, wow, this must be the end. And then all of a sudden, things picked up. Now it's 2023. Okay, so things have kept going. Okay, is there going to be an end? Of course. I mean, even if it keeps going and going, I mean, one day I'm not going to be here. So, but we're going to keep doing this as long as we can. And so, what I would say is try to get your mind wrapped around the idea that yes, there is going to be parts available. Okay, so that's good. That's good. The challenge is going to be, if you are dead set on the parts having to be made in Germany, those parts have to be made in some other country like that in Europe, you're probably going to be disappointed. Okay, and to kind of somehow it's my fault that this particular bearing is made in China. You send mine back and you go to another supplier. Guess what? They're going to send you a China bearing too. Okay, so don't be mad. Be happy that it's available. Okay, and be happy that because of the way China's been going for the last 30 years, the quality and the German companies are on them for quality control. Most likely it's going to be just as good as something you would get from Germany. Pretty much. I've had very few issues. So Marianne says, what if I want a spare Bosch alternator, don't have a core because the one I have is in use? Then you can buy it. You have to pay the core charge, which I think is like $100. And so again, you see why these core dependent parts are disappearing, because people will do that. People will keep the old one, right? And then there's not one to rebuild either. Okay, so that's why I'm very hopeful that we're going to start seeing these parts being made as a new part, and it's an aftermarket part. It's a new part. The core thing goes away, which everybody who does part sales hates cores, right? I mean, you think about it. I'm going to ship this to you, and then either you have to pay to ship it back to me, or I have to pay to ship it back. Then once you get it back here, and I look in the box, I have to make sure it's not just a pile of broken stuff, which happens sometimes, or the completely wrong thing. Right, or a boat anchor or whatever that's in there, and then I have to ship it back to them. It costs me money. Okay, so brand new items that don't require cores is a win for me, and I'm thinking the quality level of these parts are going to be good, and it's going to be a win for you guys as well. So I think that's what's happening with Bosch right now. They're transitioning from supplying parts for their older cars to, let's take some of that capacity and put it towards electric vehicle parts, and it's going to be a really rough time for a while for the OEMs. Okay, the OEMs, because there's think about a regular vehicle. Okay, so a regular car has over 2,000 parts in the drivetrain. Okay, this is in the drivetrain, and that's what Bosch would be supplying, right? Drivetrain parts, they could be supplying fuel injection parts, ignition parts, all this stuff, turbo stuff. I don't know if they do that, but a lot of parts in the drivetrain. So over 2,000 drivetrain parts. In an electric vehicle, 200. Yeah, 200. Okay, so you're like, wow, that's so much less. Yeah, that's why there's less things to break, right, and go wrong in an electric car drivetrain. Okay, but the trade-off is now the amount of parts that's required is way less, right? And that's also should mean that there's going to be way less call for repair parts. So these OEM suppliers, they're going to be fighting over, a way smaller pie. Okay, so to me, if you're smart, as a parts supplier, you might want to transition to supplying aftermarket parts. I mean, Bosch is pivoting away from that, and they have their own, team, and they are knowing about what's going on. But I feel like if you're a supplier that's supplying OEMs, and you're gonna see, hey, you know what? Volkswagen's transition now. They're only selling like maybe a quarter of their cars are gas and diesel, and the rest are all electric. That really cuts down what you're doing. Maybe some of those OEMs will transition to doing like reproduction older car parts. I mean, that would be awesome. But Bosch is not going to be one of them. At least not at the moment. Maybe in the future, 5 years down the road, they'll realize, hey, you know what? There's still this big untapped market that we left in the dust 5 years ago. It's like they don't want to be left behind, because if you go behind, if you stay behind, maybe your thing will completely go away. But I don't think that's going to happen. There's a lot of hype in the electric car market. I know possibly some of you folks ran out and bought one. If you live in California, certain parts of California, you can get an electric car for like $15,000 by the time you put in all of your incentives. It's kind of nuts. That's practically giving away a car that's worth like $60,000. They're going to give it to you for $15,000. I mean, gee, thanks, government. Okay, so it's a no-brainer if you have, if you fit all those categories to get that much money back, to get a $60,000 car for $15,000. Okay, but so it's pumping up the sales numbers of these electric vehicles, and these people don't want to be left behind. The parts suppliers, but the pie that they're going to be supplying is going to be a lot smaller. Okay, I don't know what that means. They have to charge more for each thing. We'll have to see. So that's my little rant on Bosch. I'm trying to let you guys know what's going on with Bosch, because again, people have been, it's just been an ongoing conversation I've been having with people for the last year. I want this Bosch starter. I want this Bosch alternator. Give it to me. I need it. I love it. I want it. And I'm like, well, I can't get you one right now. I can only get you an aftermarket rebuild. And going forward, that's kind of what's going on. Now, again, Marianne was asking about, getting her one rebuilt. I mean, there used to be places locally where you could go and get stuff rebuilt. That might be something to think about, but I tell you what, I've had really bad success with that. We had a local place here, and one of my customers, like, I'm really smart, I'm going to go and get my thing rebuilt locally, and it lasted about 2 months. It really didn't hold up very well, because again, they're trying to do like the bare minimum. They're trying to just put a set of brushes in it, or put some bushings in it and kick it out the door. And yeah, it's sometimes then what happens is the next thing inside that's bad goes bad. So yep. Alright, so that's my Bosch talk today. Let me continue on to some items that we got here that people might not know about and maybe might want to buy. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to ask you guys to do today, if you get a chance, go on my website, Vanagon.com. We just moved to a new host, so you're going to see the site is a lot faster and more responsive than it was. And we're having an issue right now, I think, with some glitches. So if you go on there, you get a chance today or over the weekend, go on there, go to the site. If you see any glitches, that would help me out a lot. Okay, if you can flag the glitches, just send me an email. Right now, I don't think my sales at Vanagon email is actually working properly. Again, it's one of the glitches that we're trying to work through. So if you can send it to, Ken Wilfy, KenWilfy @gmail.com. If you find a glitch, please send it to that, KenWilfy @gmail.com, and then that way I can try to address it when the guys get back on Monday. I would highly appreciate it. If you want to buy something on there and you run into any kind of issues with the credit card processing or the PayPal processing, again, please let me know right away, and I'll try to get it fixed for you. We're just trying to work out these glitches. We had to move from one of our hosts to another host because there was a lot of the site kept going down, and the developer guys are like, it's the host's fault. So we'll see. Now we're on a brand new host, DigitalOcean. We'll see how that goes. All right, so let me show you some of these other parts I got sitting here you might be interested in. One of the things that I have advertised before and I thought I did a video on it a while back, is this distributor here. So we have brand new distributors. Okay, again, here is a part that Bosch has abandoned. Wow, I didn't realize there was going to be a Bosch theme today. A part that Bosch has abandoned. This is a distributor for, you could use it on a 1.9 Vanagon. You could probably also use it on a air-cooled, like California Vanagon, because it had, already had electronic ignition. And this is a brand new part. Okay, it's really nice. It comes with a brand new cap and rotor that looks excellent. Okay, the only difference I would say between this unit and the original unit on your Vanagon, this is for 83 to 85, and like I said, you could also use it on an air cooled if it was already originally, had electronic ignition. The only difference is it's got a single unit on here for your vacuum advance. Okay, so the original unit had a vacuum advance on this side and another port here for a retard. This only has advance. You could take this off and put your vacuum advance unit on here from your Bosch one. It'll fit right on here. Okay, so they did a really nice job of making this as an aftermarket part because the original parts will fit on here. But the problem I have with doing that is that the original vacuum advance retard units are 30 years old or more, 40 years old, and they are going bad. Inside here is rubber. Okay, there's a diaphragm in here. They're just going bad, and then you have a vacuum leak inside of here on the original unit. So what I try to tell people about is, number one, hey, do you need a distributor? Here's a brand new one. Okay, not a rebuilt one, not an old wore out piece of junk. Brand new, got a brand new Hall unit in it that plugs right in to your existing wiring harness. You can hook up your vacuum unit, just the advanced part right here, boom. And then as far as the other side, you just block that off. Okay. Now people will be like, yeah, but I blocked off the retard part. Well, as far as I know, the retard section is really for emissions purposes only. So most people, they're outside of that zone where they don't really care about the emissions of it, and it's not really going to do that much either. Okay, so it's not going to affect performance. Okay, it's not going to affect performance. So we have this on our site, $2.99. Again, people ask me about the price, like, hey, well, how much is that? It's $2.99. It's well worth it. If you're having issues, again, if you even had, you said, hey, mine's working okay, but you want to have a spare, because again, do I know if these are going to be available forever? I mean, I would hope so. I would think so, because the company put a bunch of money and time into making that product and getting it ready and all that stuff, but I don't know for sure. We used to have Bosch ones about 3 years ago, and they were a similar price. They looked like they were new, but all of a sudden they decided Bosch stopped making them. It was right around before the pandemic, and so they're gone. So I say, if you see a part, you're thinking, hey, 2, 3, 4 years from now, I might want that, I might need it as a spare. I think you should grab it because, again, you just never know what's going to happen. All right, so we talked about this. I also showed you that alternator for the bus. Okay, so that is, so far there's not one for the air-cooled Vanagon, but there is one for the bus available. If somebody has a bus and they say, hey, you know what, I want to New alternator for that. We got that 70 amp unit, brand new, no core. Alright, another thing that people have asked me about for years and years is this stuff here. So you're like, what is this? It looks like some cheesy metal pieces. Okay, they're galvanized. What is this stuff? Okay, so on the late model vans from I think 88 on, if you look at the door, the front door, there is a rubber seal that's going between the nose of the van. It's filling in this crack. When the front door is closed, there's a crack right there between the door and the nose of the car. So on the later vans, I guess it makes a wind noise. And so on the later vans, they put these metal brackets in the crack, and then they put these rubber, like wiper looking pieces also in that crack. And these are seals, so when the door is closed, it's filling in the gap, okay, between the door and the body on the front edge, and it gets rid of that wind noise. So I have the seals available. I have one set of them available. I believe it's these are brand new parts. And then I have, I think, 2 sets of these metal brackets. Now these are actually, even though they look like they were made by somebody in their garage, they're actually factory parts, and I have 2 sets of them at the moment. Okay, so you know, maybe somebody out there needs this as a new part because they, you know, their car got into a wreck and they're painting it or something. I mean, we have that. If somebody wanted to buy a set, like say they had they had an older Vanagon, and for some crazy reason they're like, hey, my door whistles a lot and it bothers me. You could buy that, but they're not cheap. It's expensive. Okay, let me see how much it is. It's more than you would expect. For that, it's decently expensive, just because, again, I think somebody had to remake those rubber seals. Let me take a look on here real quick, because I don't want to tell you the wrong price. Alright, so let's go on here real fast, quick, and just see, anytime I have a question, I just look it up on my website. It's usually pretty easy. So let's see, stuff about front door stuff and things. Let's take a look. Alright. Another glitch you're going to see on the site is the fact that some of the pictures got erased when we did the move, and I haven't been able to get them back yet. Alright, so the rubber seal set, are you ready? I only sell it as a set of 2, $299.95, just for the rubber part. Okay? The metal part that backs it up is $49.95, and we do sell them individually, left or right. Because I usually assume, if somebody's buying that, they're buying it for a wreck that they are fixing. But the seals are basically $300 plus. If you wanted to get the 2 things, it's another $100. So like $400 altogether. It's not cheap, okay? But again, it is available. So that's better than nothing. It's better than not be able to get it than somebody is making it. Okay. All right. So that's those door edge seal things. Again, I didn't get a ton of people wanting them, but I would get a call maybe like once every 6 months, and somebody would be like, "Hey, I need this." For the last 20 years, I need it, and we couldn't get it. Now we can get it. All right. Then this is our latest and greatest wiring harness for the 2.1 Vanagon, the Digi font. Okay, this is the latest and greatest. What we have did on this is that we have basically changed the harness so that all we need, I believe, is just this one plug for the ECU. I believe that is the only part out of this whole harness that we're reusing. Okay. Now, I say reusing. What they're using is just the plastic section of it. All the pins, all the wiring is replaced. Okay. But we have it's all new harness. Besides this one plug, so we do need this back. I think I'm charging $100 core charge on these for that. But then you can see it's more modern looking harness. It's got what they call the split loom, which is what all the modern cars are using, right? All the cool kids are using on theirs. And it is upgraded in another way, which is if you look like on top of your coil area, right? You've got these two relays there, okay? And they can be expensive. Okay, there's actually one of them now that you can't even get anymore. And those relays can be expensive. They can be something that's hard to get sometimes. So we have changed that to these more easily to be gotten relays that are weatherproof. You don't need the box anymore. And so it's just a way better setup. We're trying to like future-proof the wiring harness. And so we did some upgrades. So the box goes away. It's on top of the coil area. And now you just have these two relays that plug in here. You mount them. And you plug in your electricity here. And you're good to go. Okay, so I wanted to let people know we do have these 2.1 engine harnesses available. It's a product that we have sold quite a bit over the years to people. Because again, you know, if you have a Vanagon, you're going to keep it. Okay, people will replace like everything on the motor. They're like, I replaced the distributor. I just replaced the airflow meter with a rebuilt one. I replaced, you know, all of the tune-up parts. You know, anything I can replace, I replace, and I'm still having drivability issues. I'm like, well, have you replaced the wiring harness? They're like, oh, no, I haven't replaced that. No. I'm like, well, guess what? They go bad, they wear out over time, and it's something that you should think about. Even if you bought one as to have it as a spare while it's out there, while it's available, it might not be a terrible idea. So I'm going to give you the price on that. It again is not cheap because again this is something that we're having made as a, it's almost like a bespoke thing. In other words, it's handmade, and the current price on them is $1,149. I believe $100 of that is a core charge, so you're still looking at $1,049, which you're saying that's a lot. That's just so much, okay? But when you could buy this as a new part from the dealer, it was $1,600. Okay, so this is still cheaper than buying it new from the dealer. You can say, but Ken, I can buy one on eBay, for $400. Okay, and that's true, but the problem with that is that it's old and wore out, just like yours. Okay, so these engine harnesses, they are getting old, they're getting worn out. You're going to see a lot of times people have cut them, have spliced them, and they're basically dying. And if you have these intermittent problems where intermittently the van's running good, the van's running bad, okay, a lot of times it's the engine harness. There's some there's some problem in there, like a bad connection inside the harnesses, like where you can't see. There's even these junctions in there that where they crimp a bunch of wires together, a bunch of grounds together, or even power feeds together, and then those can go bad. Okay, and so you want to, like I said, really think about, if you want your van to be reliable, okay, think about getting a new harness for it while it's out there. So again, the guy who's doing it for me, he's a great guy. He had a stroke about a year and a half ago, and I was like, uh-oh, problems on the horizon here. And so I gave him some space, let him try to get back, okay, and he's getting back to the point now where he's supplying things again. But yeah, he had a stroke. Okay, so this availability of this can be here, or we might be struggling for a while. I know there was another company in Canada that sent me an email probably 2 or 3 years ago, and they're like, "Hey man, we're fixing to build harnesses for the Vanagon. Are you interested in stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd like to see what you're doing." And I never heard from them again. Okay, so yeah, something to really think about. We have a good selection of them here at the moment. Let me check. Let me get another thing here. I'll show you something cool that we got. And I did a video on it not that long ago, but so far I've had a lot less interest in it than I thought I was going to have. Again, just because people have bugged me about this for years. They have bugged me about this product for years. They're like, well, I need it, I want it. But I think the price of it is a little bit higher than what people expected, which is this unit right here. So some of you guys will recognize what this is. If somebody wants to go in the comments and tell us, what is this contraption? Okay, I'll give you a moment to type it in there if you want to type in what it is. Okay. Alright, I don't see anything on there yet. There's kind of a time delay, so I'm going to be patient here. Okay, this is a really nicely made unit. It is an aftermarket unit that is made by a company, I believe, in France. Okay, and I was very impressed when I saw this online. Okay, yes, Marianne got it right. It's an instrument cluster. I'm not ignoring you, Marianne. I don't have any of those rooftop mounts things for the road showers. I'm sorry about that. That's probably a Van Cafe thing. I imagine they have something for that. Maybe. But, so what this is for the instrument clusters. I have 2 different variations of this at the moment. This one is for the diesel Vanagon. And you can kind of tell because it's got the glow plug LED right here. Okay. So this is a reproduction of the original. It goes right on, and you know, you can have your instrument cluster back to new. You know, after years of dealing with these crumbling, you know, instrument cluster circuitry, you can have brand new circuitry. Now this one you can kind of see. Here's the end plug. Okay, so the end plug on the 2 ones that I got is over to the side. Okay, it's over to the side, and it's set up for an analog clock also. So what these 2 different versions, they're pretty much the same, except one's for the diesel and the other one's for gas. They are for early Vanagons. So the early Vanagons had their plug over to the side, and it goes like vertical. Okay, like right behind where the clock was, in that area, where the analog clock was. That's where the plug was for the early clusters. Okay, I don't have one here. I got several like newer ones, but I don't have any early ones. So if you have an early cluster, how you can tell is it has an analog clock in it, number 1, and then also where you plug it on the back, it's going to be going this way. Okay, up and down. If you have the newer one, which I've got a bunch of them here, I got several of them here that are used. Of course, that plug is behind that area also, but it's horizontal. Okay, they don't have one like that for that yet. I wish they had made that one first. I probably would be selling them like crazy. Instead, we get the early one. So if you have an early Vanagon, say you have an air-cooled Vanagon from 80 to 83, you have a water-cooled Vanagon that's early that has just an analog clock, okay, or you have a diesel Vanagon like that's probably any of them, okay, because later on they never got a tack or nothing. These would work, okay. Now again, they're not cheap. I think, if I remember correctly, they're in the $300 range, okay. Let me see if I can find it on here. And again, if you see some pictures on the site that don't work, that is actually something that I do know about, because for some crazy reason, the transition thing. Yeah, so these foils are $300. They're $299.95. One of the pictures it's showing the instrument cluster, so you can kind of see a better idea of what it's going to look like on the cluster. but you're not buying the cluster. You're just buying the foil. Okay, it's $300. Okay, it's $300. But again, it's out there, and I'm so impressed. Really, after years, there was several other suppliers that were supposed to make this. Never did it. Never made it. Okay, this company in France did actually do it, and from what I'm seeing, it looks like they did an excellent job. Okay, so if anybody needs that, we have those available. Go ahead, go on our website. Go ahead and purchase that. I would highly appreciate it. Okay, so I think that's going to be the end of our stream today, guys. I appreciate you guys coming out. I appreciate Chris Hola also always watching. Marianne Feifeld, okay, all watching. Toad Ranger is watching. Like I said, this is our 25th year of doing this, okay, and we do it for you guys. This is why we're here. We're here for you to give us a phone call if you have a problem. Sometimes I can't pick up, so I'll text with you. We have a chat thing on our site. We'll chat with you on there. Email is always good, okay, to try to get a hold of us. But we will help you to fix your van to get it back on the road, because that's what we love. We love these vans. We love you guys as our customers, loyal customers. I sadly lose customers every year, but most of the time it's because they pass away. Okay, they pass away. But then the cool part is sometimes their kids call me. They're like, hey, you know what? I'm fixing up Dad's van. I'm getting it back on the road. I'm like, you know what? I love that. Okay, so I'm here for you guys, and we're not going anywhere to my knowledge. But we've been here for 25 years, and so we appreciate all the support. Please continue to support us. Please watch our videos online. Please like us and share things so that we can kind of grow. And I'm going to try to come back and do some more videos for you guys soon. Like I said, my mom is still needing a lot of care, so that is going to be something that's taking up some of my time. Our church still needs somebody to help fill in there. I'm going to be doing that for the foreseeable future also. So, if you guys pray, keep us in your prayers on that stuff. I definitely appreciate it. But that's it for this live stream, guys. Let me know in the comments if you want us to do more. We'll be doing that. And guys, have a great rest of your Saturday. Enjoy it. Go out there and be in your van and just have some adventures. And we'll be happy that we could help you do that. So, guys, have a great day. We'll see you guys on the next time.